let's find who we are first at first. Okay. Let's really connect to our inner version of who we are. And then instead of going from point A to point, B or Z, whatever, you're not dislocating yourself from space and time. You're actually staying present in space and time, and then you expand yourself.
At all?
Yeah, bits and pieces. Yeah, I love it.
I've been watching it too, and it's fun because how often do you really watch snowcross? Like you just like never really watch it. But I wanted to ask you about we see these Olympians, and obviously they're dedicate their lives to this. They've been doing this since they were kids, and it's like every 4 years, and then it's heartbreak sometimes when you watch them and they just aren't on that day. Or
that's true. Yep.
And it's just like, it's heartbreaking. But I can't help but to think like those people have some type of inner, I don't know what it is. It's like a gear inside of themselves to dedicate themselves to that degree, to that one sport. Where does that come from? And is there any connection to the XI way of life or thinking around that? Do you have any thoughts on that?
The athletes, they can push their bodies more. They can do a lot more, especially with, the flips in the air and all that they do nowadays, compared to like, say, a decade ago. And you might go, well, we've got better athletes and so on like that. And yes, we do have better athletes, better technology. But outside of all that, the universe is changing, space-time is changing. It's becoming more and more efficient. So as it becomes more and more efficient, just like, just like your phone back in the day, you couldn't do much with it. But because the technology is advanced, right? The technology is advanced, you can do a lot more with it. I mean, it's more powerful than, the computer that they use to send, this first spacecraft to the moon. Same thing with space-time. It's always, say, accelerating or, say, creating more efficiencies within itself. So the humans that are in that field, and even like, scientists that send spaceships to the orbit, they're actually starting to see that their trajectory or their, say, mathematics have to change because, again, of the efficiencies that space-time is creating itself in. So it's really an amazing observation.
So with the Olympians who are dedicating themselves for years and years and years and really don't know what the outcome is going to be, they're not going to maybe get that gold medal, right? Yes. What is it that drives their desire to want to reach that podium?
It's actually the same desire that, a lot of high-level business people have, or somebody that has a really, say, deep goal to fix something in the world. It's really the same pattern. And so for specifically, I've worked on, a few gold medalists, older, people who have won the gold medal, but they're having, say, personal problems or personal issues. So they've come to me. So you would think somebody that was so successful that they gained a gold medal in something, why is their life so destructive? Does that make sense? Or you see it in a lot of athletes, Cheryl. You see a lot of athletes, they're so successful, but then they go home and abuse their wives, or they're still addicted to things and so on. So you have to ask yourself questions like that. Or in case of, say, these Olympians, a lot of them, they get depressed or their life starts to fall apart. Even, especially if they did win a medal. It's like, now what do I do? Their whole life was based on that one focal point, which is a detriment. So what I've done with individuals, high-level athletes, and again, a couple of gold medalists, is that, that pressure that they use to create perfection in themselves, okay? And there's a caveat to that, and so I'll just explain that in just a second. But that pressure can be used to go, hey, you know what, let's move, say, that opportunity for you or that pressure that you used, let's use it as a propellant for you to create massive, say, success in your own life. So here's the difference. They use that pressure to, say, perfect their skill. That makes sense? A lot of people do that. A lot of people use that pressure to create, say, mass success in business, and then they destroy themselves. These Olympians, they create that pressure to create mass, say, precision in their physical skills. But what happens is that they disconnect from their identity of who they really are. They become a robot, and that's the distortion. They forget about, say, the grander version of who they are. Most people actually disconnect themselves, and you can tell the people. that do that. I'm not saying all people do that, but most individuals who create great success, for example, and then after their success, after their win, after their, claim of fame, they drop off the cliff and they go, I'm depressed. I want to commit suicide. Right? You'll see a lot of those Olympians back in the past. Look at how many people, Olympians, have committed suicide. This is the reason why. Or a lot of business people, or look, I mean, the rampant, entertainers industry. What happened, right? That point again, basically, the reason why is that they created such perfection without, say, bringing their higher self in. So they created disconnect. Again, they became time bound, as I would call it, not timeless. So there's a couple things that are disadvantages to that. Once you dislodge from being connected to the zone, and you've heard the zone, right? Athletes get into the zone. Well, there's a zone between your higher version of who you are. I call it the limitless self of who you are, and that limited version of who you are. So those athletes literally to create, say, that much precision, and whether you're a business person or, a high level athlete or even an entertainer, what you're doing is like you're separating yourself from the perfection of who you originally are and trying to create perfection here at a physical level by repetition. Again, people who say escape, they go, God, I'm glad I'm out and disconnected from my life, and now I can focus in on what I'm doing. So they use it as escape mechanism. So when they stop doing whatever they're doing, excelling in, it's like, God, now I got to go back to my old self. They didn't learn anything. They didn't expand. Now there's a way to do it very differently. Is that, again, and this is my book called Your Inner Expansion, where people go, I'm at point A, I want to go to point B or Z, whatever it is, whatever point you are. You displaced yourself in space-time. Whenever you displace yourself, there's a disconnect. People, and again, the symptoms are, the more successful they get, the more they need, or the more they need to conquer. But again, the Olympians, once they conquer that, it's like, I can't go any higher than that. Does that make sense? So they've already disconnected. They need, say, more of a jolt. Right? It's just like a heroin addict. They need more and more and more, unfortunately. So, but there is nowhere to go. There's no height to go. People who have reached their epitome of success in their field, there's no more to go. So where do they go? They go down, because again, it's a disconnect. So they need, say, more and more, say, momentum in the physical realm to create success or happiness, which is very limited. What you want to do, and this is what I teach people to do, is like, no, wait, let's find who we are first. Okay, let's really connect to our inner version of who we are. And then instead of going from point A to point, B or Z, whatever, you're not dislocating yourself from space and time. You're actually staying present in space and time, and then you expand yourself. And Cheryl, this is where those individuals who create mass success, they're fantastically successful. They're gold medalists. They open up a business. They have happy families. They have, so there's people like that already. What's their secret? Well, I just told you their secret. They expanded who they are, and they found out who they are. By the way, those people who do it that way, and athletes, you get hurt less, you recover a lot faster, you access your limitless potential. Right? If you're looking for that, you would need less drugs or whatever else that people use to enhance themselves. It's all, again, within you, that limitless self.
So someone in the case of Caitlyn Jenner, in your opinion, from an XI perspective, is this someone who has reached that or getting closer to becoming who they were meant to be through being a transgendered person, a former Olympian who was kind of living a life because it was what was expected, or kind of, you know what I mean? And then over the course of time, got to the point where she realized, that's not really who I am, and I need to evolve. What is your point of view on the whole Caitlyn Jenner, formerly Bruce Jenner story?
Yeah, and I can analyze them, by the way, and see what the real frequency, or the top level reason on why he would transform into a woman, and there's nothing wrong. So Bruce, and it happens to, interestingly, yeah, it happens to a lot of people, enough people, let's say, like the Navy SEALs, or guys that are, say, that way, and why are they that way? That's a different subject, but and they prove to themselves. So, like Bruce, for example, they don't understand at a deeper level of who they really are, right? And then they transform into, say, a woman in this case. So for Bruce, back in the day, so his mom, from what I'm seeing, under a lot of stress on the mom side, seems like there's alcoholism or something to that effect, or abuse patterns. So Bruce never feels, safe or complete because of basically his mom, right? And obviously it goes back deeper, but how far do you want to go back? So in his life scenario, his mom is literally always trying to escape the family pattern, the family dynamics, okay? That mother frequency, again, a feminine frequency, say, shifts, comes into Bruce, which is a strong being, a strong child. So the mother anchors in on Bruce, but the mother is a feminine frequency. Bruce is a masculine frequency. That makes sense. So what'll happen is that the hardware, again, might be of a man, right? The software is now, say, shifted into, say, a woman frequency because of that intensity or that impact of whatever Bruce's mom is going through. And the father, not quite there from what I'm seeing. So over time, that identity is like, hey, I'm a guy. No, wait, I'm a woman. No, wait, I'm a guy. I'm a woman. Again, so the genetic functioning of Bruce starts to, say, shift. And then over time, you get bullied in school, because you're doing not what little boys do. So you push back. It's like, hey, look, I'm a boy. And again, this is Bruce's life. I could be way off, okay, but probably not. So you get bullied, and it's like you keep pushing. It's like, hey guys, look, I'm a guy. Look at me, I'm a guy. And then people like that. They keep, say, excelling in, say, guy type situations. This is the same way where guys become super aggressive, or they look super macho, or they do super guy things to go, hey, look guys, I'm a guy. Look, damn it, I won all these medals. Look, I'm a fast runner. I did this and this and this. I should be considered a guy. Look, I went into the Navy SEALs, because again, they don't understand. But what happens again, because success and wealth, love and so on is a magnifier. It's like in Bruce's case, the more again successful they got, the more they realize it's like, shit, there's two of me. A masculine version, a feminine version. Does that make sense? And then it's like, shit, I think I'm more feminine. So he would have to, say, transfer into a feminine. But he went through the surgery, and again, just reading him, he's not any happier, because that disconnect is, an eternal frequency. It's not a physical frequency. Okay. So whether Bruce is, a guy or a girl, it doesn't really matter. The key is like, how are you connected, or how are you, say, defining yourself at a space-time level or at a frequency level? And that's what we have to really understand. So, so in the case of Bruce, again, I'm sensing him, and he's not any happier. He's just, hey, look, I'm this now. And it works for a while, but then that fades, because that's not his real self either. And again, it's not the physical attributes, by the way. It's your internal frequency that you're running.
It sounds to me like there might be two different camps of Olympians. The Olympians who are kind of forcing the square peg, into the round hole. And then other people who are really being themselves and achieving goals because it's actually who they really are.
Yeah. And again, it's not the physical success, because physical success can hide a lot of, say, distortions on the back end, right? Again, there's massive, like, entertainers that, have the looks, have the, the fortune and fame and all that stuff. And then again, they commit suicide, right? There's athletes that do that as well. So again, it's not the physical success, but Michael Phelps, is he happy on the inside? Is he a normal, say, sane person, everyday life? So, and just reading Michael Phelps, and I'll give you, okay, so the gold medalist, I'm not going to mention her name, but there's a reason why people want perfection, by the way. Okay. And this is the sad case of it, is that those individuals who had created massive success or won a gold medal because of it, it's because they've used that weakness, to create, say, massive strength. Again, they're trying to get away. So this woman, her mom, unfortunately, would always beat her up. She'd get alcoholic, and then she'd turn into somebody else and literally run after this young, beautiful kid. So she learned how to, say, escape. And that was her, say, pattern: escape, escape, escape. So through her whole life, she was escaping. She literally is running away. So she turned it into a positive. It's like, hey, I'm going to go run. And she got a gold medal for, being one of the fastest. I forgot which sport it was. Yeah, I forgot, if it was a sprint or whatever. Anyway, that was her, say, underlying reason. So she did the gold medal thing, and now she's working, unfortunately, at a grocery store because she's still trying to escape. She escapes her relationships. She escapes pretty much everything. She tries to escape her life, and is almost, or back in the day, would have, say, committed or try to commit suicide to escape, because you can't run, right? How far can you run? So with her, the reason is, again, you escape, you turn it into a positive. Most people, unfortunately, who become successful like that, they don't know how to shut that stick off, and it destroys them afterwards. So in this case, I just help her shut that stick off. It's like, hey, wait, I don't need to escape my life anymore. I can just enjoy it. And it's a beautiful feeling. So in that scenario, is there a purpose or a weakness that people have turned into? It's because of this. People in Silicon Valley, they were bullied, they were pushed around, right? They use that to perpetuate, say, massive success. Unfortunately, when they become massively successful, they start to bully, or they get bullied by their success and wealth, life, and so on like that. So for the Olympians, there probably is a reason why they want to, say, create such precision in time or precision in, their art. Are they escaping something? If they are, I would suggest them having a session, because we can turn that off and use it not to destroy yourself, because that tool that they're using is still on. So we can turn that off for you, and you'll have a great life.